Hello and welcome everybody. Today we have Dr. Ibraheem Abioye. We'll read his bio quickly and we'll take up the discussions from there. So, Dr. Abioye is a medical doctor, is a medical director, sorry, in neuroimmunology and medical affairs at Genentech and a lecturer at the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health. He bagged his bachelor's in medicine at the Lagos State University. And from there on, he moved to Harvard to complete his master's in public health, master's in science, PhD, and postdoc. That's quite something. With over 15 years of experience across clinical medicine, global health research, and the biopharmaceutical industry. So Dr. Abiy has led cross-functional initiatives in neuroscience, clinical trials, regulatory strategy, and real-world evidence generation. His work has spanned major biopharmaceutical institutions around the world, including Takeda, Novartis, and academic research centers such as Harvard, with a strong focus on neuroimmunology, health outcomes, and global health. He also provides mentorship, as a nice person that he is, through Stats Clinic. Dr. Abiy is passionate about translating scientific insights into impactful healthcare solutions and advancing multidisciplinary collaboration in medicine. So yeah, welcome once again, Dr. Ibrahim. Nice to
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay, so I would start. I'll first of all let you know that I don't know what population health means, and maybe to many people outside there, they will think population health, given that you're also a medical doctor, or global health means that you are traveling around the world and you are treating people in their hospitals. We don't know if this is true. Yeah, but is this what population health and global health means?
I wish. Okay, so seriously, so basically, population health is essentially public health.
Okay.
Right. It's a terminology that people have recently begun to use to describe public health initiatives, but beyond the traditional approach where it's government and non-profit focused.
Okay.
Right. So it's thought to be a broader, because if you think about when we say population health, it's more than just public sector. It's also private organizations. So hospitals, for instance, have a role in population health, right? And traditionally they were left out of the discussion.
Okay.
And population health also, pharmaceutical companies have a role in population health, and they were traditionally left out of the discussion. So the population health is conceived of as this broader set within the community, within all the elements of society. So it's essentially public health. But academics like to use different words. When we say global health, so historically, we think the term global health was actually referred to as international health.
Okay.
So if you were out in public health space like 15 years ago, 20 years ago, the term international health was like the norm. And it was thought of as a US-centric term, or let me say Western-centric. So you will have a situation where researchers in the West thought of international health as health of the developing world.
I see.
Right. So they would think about it as what we do to contribute to the health of people in Nigeria and India and Cuba, but as opposed to the health of the US, of Europe, right? So the term of global health was conceived as a way to actually learn from each other. Right? There's stuff for people in the US, learn from Africa. There's stuff for people in Kenya to learn from Europe, in Britain or something. And so there's opportunities to learn from each other. There's people they're underserved people in the Western countries as well, right? Who have very similar life experiences as people who are living in developing countries. So there's a lot to learn from each other. There's also the racial distributions and all of that impact each other. So the term global health is thought of as a broader set.
I see.
Right?
I see.
Yeah. So that's all different from clinical medicine, where in clinical medicine, we're thinking about the individual patient.
Okay.
Right. So the patient in front of you who has this health condition, that's who you're worried about in medicine, as opposed to population health as opposed to global health, where you're thinking more on a population, community scale, society level. Right?
And you are doing this to this population global health at the same time. Is this the case, or
no? So these are So so these are not. So I would say yes at the same time. At the same time. But the truth is, at each point in time, you're wearing different hats, right?
Okay.
And it's also about how you're describing what you're doing. As far as I'm concerned, there's a lot to learn.
Okay.
There's a lot of elements that carry through. You need largely the same set of skills. It's basically the focus that's changing.
I see.
So in my day-to-day work, sometimes I'm medical director at Genentech, where I'm helping to bring life-saving medicines to patients, improve the evidence that addresses the gaps.
Okay.
Things that clinicians might want to know: what clinical trials do we need to conduct? How are we conducting those trials? See those trials to completion. But I'm also involved in doing research in Lagos, in Tanzania. So as part of this work, I would say that it's not population health from the perspective of me being involved in work in the community that I'm resident in.
Okay.
Right. So I'm not currently resident in Lagos, for instance.
Okay.
So it's the same skill sets, the context that I understand. Grew up in Nigeria, I lived for a long time in Tanzania. So I don't know. As far as I'm concerned, it's the same thing. It's just different hats.
Yeah. Okay. This is cool. This is cool. I will still come back to exactly what you are doing at the Genentech versus what you're doing at universities. But before that, I'm quite interested in your journey from Lagos State University, Ojo, to Harvard. That's amazing. I mean, you did like 3 or 4 degrees in Harvard already, and okay, can you take me through the journey, please, or take us through?
Yeah. Okay. So basically, in medical school, I decided that I wanted to do public health.
Okay. Wow.
So I went to medical school in Ikeja. I mean, LASU has it's LASU Ojo, right?
Yeah.
But the medical school is in Ikeja.
Okay.
And so Ikeja was a great place. Learned a lot. Basically, I would say everything that I am today, basically, I owe to Ikeja. Wow. My experience there, to the people that I met, to mentors, great mentors, who. So we were very lucky, and I think that Ikeja is a great school in that regard. There was a conscious effort to take us from these people who knew absolutely nothing about medicine to broaden your horizon, so to speak. So we would have a series of lectures with these professors at the beginning of our medical school, where they would just tell us about their careers.
Okay.
And these are people who we had such a stellar set of people that come from all over the world. There were a lot of professors who were retiring and had come back from Europe, from Asia, and so they were spending. This was an opportunity to give back, right? We had people from industry. So it was an excellent group of people, and they were always willing to talk about their work. So it helped us to develop this sense that opportunities were limitless.
I see.
Right. So I think that was really helpful for me in that regard. And in medical school, I kind of started to zero in on potentially 2 career paths.
Okay.
One of them is surgery, and the other is public health.
Okay.
So at some point I thought, okay, I'll do both. Right? First of all, do surgery, I'll do public health, but ultimately, then so I started to do research a little bit in medical school. I know a lot of medical students are doing research today, and that always excites me because during my medical school years, I struggled through it trying to learn how to do research, and it was very hard. But I had a little bit of mentorship in that regard initially before we then did our project, right? But that effort to try to learn how to do research was what led me to start engaging with scientific papers, like coming across some terms, what is confounding. That's one of those that was like, what is this word? what is regression? You know, they were not coming out in medical school work at all, you know. So yeah, so those led me to feel like I needed to do a degree in statistics.
Okay.
You know, but I didn't do it immediately. I applied to the UK. I was admitted. I couldn't go. I didn't have money. You know, so so I was like, okay, I'll just do public health and then figure it out from there. So I applied to MPH at Harvard.
Okay. Oh, directly from Nigeria.
Directly from Nigeria, yes. Yeah. You know, so yeah, so then I applied to the MPH at Harvard. So and then basically I left NYC in March, right? And by May, I left NYC in March. And by August, I was on my way out, you know, so I didn't really spend a lot of time.
Yeah.
Like, it was a very focused strategy.
Yeah.
This is what I know, this is what I want to do.
What year are we talking
about? This is the next step. This was 2011.
Wow, okay. Okay.
Yeah, 2011. Yeah, 2011. So so it was I think it was good because then I did not settle into a post medical school life in Nigeria.
Okay.
Which will then be hard to pull yourself out of.
Exactly.
You know, so it was very I got an apartment that I was scantily furnished and I was ready to move. I did not like fully settle in.
I see.
My feet were already. I knew that I was going to leave almost immediately. I applied the previous year to the UK and I had scrounged around for resources and wasn't successful. I felt that I had a good profile to be able to get in. I don't know why I thought I was going to get it.
I mean, this courage, I don't know where it came from.
You know, so, but I was so sure. I think partly because I had friends who had also gotten in.
I see.
You know, many of the people that I had as friends across. So I did some politics in school. And so there were a lot of medical school leaders across Nigeria. Okay. You know, who had ended up going abroad. Quite a few of them had gone to Harvard. You know, so, and we had been close. So we had built a network and it was easy to lean on each other, to at least understand what the expectations are. And you can be like, if they admitted like Baja, you know, I should be able to make it in as well. You know, so yeah. So yeah, that's how I ended up at Harvard.
Cool. And then you decided to just run everything in Harvard.
Yeah, I mean, by the time I got to Harvard, I was married.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I married very early. I married during house job.
Okay.
So 2009. Very funny story. I you know, doing rotations to ONG and seeing all these babies. And I was like, oh, maybe I want my own babies too. You know, seriously, I think that it did have an effect on me. I don't know, maybe other people don't have that effect.
I see.
Yeah. It was partly that it helped me to feel that it was durable. You know, I saw all these people who they don't have a lot, but they seem to be building a life.
I see.
You know, unlike me at that point, I thought that I was doing even better as a house officer than some of these people. And so I thought, we're off it, you know? So the fact that I showed up to Harvard and I was already married meant that it kind of altered my career trajectory in some ways. You know, it meant that there were some decisions I needed to make. It also meant that I couldn't take as much risks as I would have liked to. You know, and so it meant that I always had to have income.
Yes.
You know, I could not. So I could not like just take a 6 months break and just figuring stuff out. You know, so that's how I then decided that I needed to stay in public health. You know, do some more work, do research, and I got some opportunities. So I basically allowed the opportunities that I got to lead my way, you know. So I ended up spending quite a bit of time doing clinical trials. I moved to Tanzania to work on clinical trials, you know. Was part of a group at Harvard. And I was basically leading the clinical trials work that they had on the ground in Tanzania, you know. And, you know, so essentially liaising back and forth with the professors in Tanzania, professors at Harvard. So that was a good opportunity. It was very formative of everything that I have then done since.
Wow.
Right? The experience of clinical trials that I got then is what I am using today in my work, throughout my work in Genentech, with Unilag, with, Harvard, everything, so it was very essential, I would say, the trajectory that I could not have designed it, right? Because I didn't even know that, But I ended up spending about 3.5 years in Tanzania, and then moving on, and then kept coming back to the US.
Okay.
All right. So at some point, I decided that, okay, I needed to figure out next steps. Tanzania was so good. I liked it. I settled in,
You visit the national park?
But that, you said?
Did you visit any of the?
I did not go to the national park. No, I did not.
Oh.
I did not. So here's the thing: when you're local, when you feel like you have time,
I see.
You keep postponing. You're like, okay, yeah, I'm still here. I'll go. And then one day you decide, I have to go now. I have to leave this place. And I did not do this. I did not do that. So anyway, there's still going to be a future, God willing, when I'm able to go back and do that. Recently, I didn't go to Zanzibar. Can you imagine? I lived in Tanzania for 3.5 years. I did not go to Zanzibar. But when I went back recently in 2023, that's when I went.
Okay.
It's 2020. That's when I went to Zanzibar. And, so that's what I'm saying. Like, because I was local, I thought it's home now, Anyway, so yeah, exactly. So I did that, but then I came back to the US knowing that, okay, there needs to be next steps, right? I've sort of put my career on hold doing this work for some time. I need to figure out, and I always knew that if I was going to do public health, I wanted to, be as to the top of whatever it is that I want to do, So I thought maybe I'll become a professor, So so I thought to be able to become a professor, you need to have a PhD, right? So I wanted to do a PhD, so I started applying to schools, and then I moved back to the US. I worked at Brown for a year.
Okay.
And while I was at Brown, that's when I got into the PhD program. And then I did the PhD. While I was doing the PhD, I started to think about next steps again, and the decision of, do I want to pursue this professorship or do I want to think about other things? So I started to ask myself, is it tech or what's other things? So tech or pharmaceutical, those were the two that were really on my mind. And so I started looking out for opportunities to volunteer, opportunities to build, but ultimately I landed in pharma. And I really like it.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, Genentech, I think it's one of the earliest pharma companies around. So,
biotech companies, one of the earliest biotech companies. And now it's owned by Roche, right? So big biotech company, big pharma company, and a lot of innovative work, exciting stuff, good people. So excellent place to work. I love it.
Wow. Okay. A few things I took from that were your friends were really, really, the network of people you
really influential. Yeah, the network of people that you're friends with, that you relate with, very, very important. Yeah.
Interesting. I still have one more question about your journey, but then I think this should come last. But then
okay.
Going forward now. So we'd like to know, as a global health researcher or a population health person, how does your day look like?
My day is very my day is actually governed partly by my calendar, or my task list.
Yeah. I understand.
So I would usually Genentech is in San Francisco.
Okay.
But I am based in Rhode Island, so there's a 3-hour time zone difference.
Okay.
So I work from home most times. And so that means that I'm up in the morning, getting kids ready to go to school, drop them off at school. So I have a little bit of time in the mornings when I have some flexibility about what I want to do with my time. Sometimes I'm using it to get ready for the day, to get ready for meetings. Sometimes I'm using it to review past work, sometimes I'm using it to, I'm spending it on, quick analysis that I want to do, some projects that I'm working on, some collaborations that I'm doing. So there's some flexibility for me in that morning time that is really, really useful. And sometimes I'm spending it at the gym, depending on how,
you go to the gym.
depending on how I'm feeling that day. So a lot of flexibility in how I'm spending that morning. But it really helps me because it's a block of time when there's not much interruption, especially when like the kids are in school, but once I start meetings, it's back to back to back to back because people in San Francisco are trying to respect my time. They're not scheduling meetings in the evenings. So that means once I start meetings at 10 a.m., sometimes like 4 or 5 straight hours, So, but I mean, it's doable. It's great.
Yeah.
So that's really how my day is. So it's kind of interesting. My day is spent thinking about research, doing research, talking about it, meetings.
I see.
To facilitate research, to advance research. I'm doing a little bit of coding once in a while. But these days I'm also teaching, right? So I started teaching at Harvard in January. So I would teach once a week on Wednesdays during the spring. So that means that on Wednesdays, on Wednesdays, I'm sort of taking time off my regular work.
Okay.
And using Wednesday afternoons, and I'm using those Wednesday afternoons to go to Boston, which is like an hour, a little over an hour away, and then going to take the class and then coming back. So in the mornings, I'm also doing some work stuff, right? And that's really how my day is. Not anything exciting. There's no lab work involved,
I see.
thankfully.
Interesting. Just as a bit of
but I think it's interesting.
Yeah, okay. Sorry for interrupting. Just as a bit of nugget, you said you code. So would you advise medical doctors to learn how to code and what language do you write your code?
No, so I do, for when I say code, is not programming or like website design or apps,
Okay.
It's basically statistical analysis,
I see.
coding for analysis, and I use R.
Okay.
I didn't always use R. When I first started, I used SAS.
Okay, SAS?
SAS, S-A-S.
Okay. I think I've heard about it.
I heard about it. Yeah, all people use it. Yeah, so
no,
that's
not what I mean.
I started with SAS, and during the pandemic, that's when I stopped. Long story. I did not have, so everything just happened in a very interesting way.
Okay.
I did not, when the pandemic happened, I just started work at Takeda.
Okay.
I had left Novartis. So that meant that I had this Takeda computer with me, and I had my personal computer.
Okay.
Right, and then my personal computer crashed.
Okay.
Like in that first month or so of the pandemic, right? My personal computer crashed. That means I no longer had the SAS that was on that computer was gone. So I only had the Takeda computer, and I could not. And I was in 2 years. I mean, I think I had a year or so left of my PhD. I was trying to wrap it up. I was coding.
Okay.
So I had to record my dissertation.
Oh no.
In R, right? And R was the language that I'd only used before for class. Like I was not proficient.
Yeah.
So I had to sit down. There was no chat GPT where you can just say, this is my code, convert it, right?
It's far.
If that happened today, I wouldn't even swear. But so I had to basically, but because I had done all the analysis before, I knew exactly what my results were going to look like. So all I needed to do was replicate it in R. So that was really how I learned how to use R.
I see.
So maybe 4 months or so, or 5 months or so of trying to replicate this analysis, several months trying to replicate this analysis while working full time, of course. So that was how I learned. But should medical doctors code? And I think R is very user friendly.
Okay.
A lot of doctors struggle with programming
Okay.
Coding. I think increasingly I find a lot of young people who are able to pick it up easy. So I would say with the fact that there's more resources now, it should be easy for people who are really keen. And in fact, I would say that the main focus should not be the programming per se, which is good to learn, it's important to learn, but the statistics is more important. And I think that's where a lot of people fail. They're more interested in learning the programming, but then they don't know the right tools to use, when to use what, how to design studies, yeah.
I see. Okay.
I guess that's why we go to PhD.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, let's come into research more now.
Okay.
So in most of your papers, we noticed that you talk a lot about iron, blood, anemia.
Yeah.
How are these guys related? Just as a basic question.
Okay, so let me just tell you the story first because I think I like telling stories. So in 2012, when I was trying to figure out my next steps, I reached out to the chair of the Department of Global Health at Harvard, and I said, "Well, I'm trying to find my next job. I'm trying to find a job, blah blah blah. There's someone who could refer me to." So he said, "Oh, would you like to go to Tanzania? Let's talk." So I said, Tanzania, very not a country I ever got into. I didn't even know, I had Tanzanian classmates and friends.
Okay.
So I started like chatting them up and sharing their thoughts and this is very good, Anyway, ultimately met with him and then he told me about this research topic. And the question really was, is iron supplementation, does it increase? Okay, let me back up. When a woman is pregnant,
okay,
the level of red blood cells that she has, because in the red blood cells, everybody has red blood cells, right? Large quantities. But inside the red blood cells, there's a pigment called hemoglobin.
Yeah.
And that pigment is what we use to transport oxygen from the lungs to the blood, right? To the tissues, So as the woman advances in pregnancy, the level of the hemoglobin drops.
Okay.
And the reason it drops is because the baby is putting pressure because the body is trying to serve the needs of the baby. Right? In fact, the body will prioritize the needs of the baby over the needs of the mother. And the baby needs a lot of iron stores. So if the mother is not increasing her iron intake, her own hemoglobin levels will drop because now she's trying to serve two people. So because hemoglobin levels will drop, the expectation therefore is that when the woman goes on prenatal care, we'll ask her to use iron, right? To take iron supplements by mouth, and those iron supplements will help her to prevent that drop in hemoglobin that happens during the course of pregnancy. Now, the challenge is that we now found, there's some studies that then found that if you give children iron, so we're talking about pregnant women now, but let's go to children. Young children under the age of 5. They are also very prone to having this drop in hemoglobin, which we'll call anemia. Right? So these young children under the age of 5, if you then give them iron supplements saying, we want to prevent anemia or treat anemia, it was found that many of these children started dying. People were becoming hospitalized and were dying. Young children under the age of 5. So there was a large study that was done in Zanzibar, in Tanzania, 27,000 kids or so, and they found that so many kids were hospitalized or died. And so the PSNB had to stop the trial and say, this is not safe. But it was kind of curious, like why something so inert and so it's everywhere iron. Iron supplements, red pill, we take it. How is it causing the deaths of these kids? Or this illness? So they found that it's because when you increase the iron levels up to a point, right? Then once the child has enough iron, it starts. But if that child keeps getting iron, then the child the risk of malaria in that child increases.
Okay.
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 And the reason is because, you're like, where did malaria come into the picture, right?
Yeah.
The reason is because the Plasmodium falciparum, the parasite that causes malaria, also uses iron for its own survival.
See.
Right? So if you give iron, then it has more opportunity to fight you. It's almost like you're trying to treat one problem, but now you've basically strengthened your ops, you know? So that's really what happens in the kids. So in further study, it was figured out that this is what happened. But that's a very fascinating question. You know, something that is so cheap, iron supplement, but causing all this problem. And the solution really was to, you know, treat malaria in this case, insecticide-treated nets, you know, those kinds of things were the things that were done. But then the question then was, does this also happen in pregnant women? So this is where we came in. So Harvard researchers were conducting this study in Tanzania, examining whether the same thing happens in children. Okay, so I remember that day I walked into his office and he introduced me to this concept, just like I just introduced you to it. I said, "Oh, this is very fascinating." I was just like, "Oh, this is interesting," you know? Exactly. So, and so I was like, "Yeah, would you be interested in getting involved?" Like, "Yeah, please. Let me give it a little bit of thought, you know, and then I'll get back to you." But yeah, so that's how I became absolutely fascinated with iron research.
I see.
You know, and then so I spent quite a bit of time on this trial. The trials got published. It was 2 iron trials. One trial, one observational study. All of them in pregnant women. There was another one, zinc. You know, then we also did some other studies in HIV patients, and also got involved in other studies in Tanzania as well. But yeah, so that's how I got involved in iron. And then when I did my PhD thesis, because I've done all this previous iron work, it made sense to continue to advance that iron question, right? So now we know it's safe, but then we also realized that those infections also impact the way that we're detecting anemia and iron status, and is there work that we can do to improve that? But we also then realized that this same problem is potentially possible in HIV patients as well, you know, so if we give HIV patients, are we increasing their risk that the HIV gets worse?
Okay.
You know, so this is where all of my PhD research then goes into that direction.
And what was the outcome of this HIV?
So we don't know yet. That's interesting.
I see.
So a lot of the work that we have done is preliminary to try to set up the stage.
Yeah.
We're trying to find money. You know, we tried to find money. We weren't successful.
Okay.
There's always one thing or the other with grants. But yeah, so that's really it's the question that everybody is interested in. But we don't have an answer to it yet. We think that it's probably safe.
Okay.
If a person is taking their HIV medicines properly.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, we think they'll be fine. Yeah.
Maybe I can also suggest something that I'm not recommending research for you, but I'm just saying you should try to, because we once had a sickle cell anemia person on the podcast as well. So, and I'm thinking, what about sickle cell anemia, iron?
Excellent question. Yeah, excellent question. Yeah, that's an area of inquiry, actually. People have also been wondering about sickle cell and iron use. So the difference in sickle cell is that the sickle cells themselves have excess. There's potential for them to have excess iron lying around, because every time the red blood cell breaks down, that iron remains in the blood. So there's a potential that they're going to have excess iron in their system that is, you know, could then be potential source of harm. So the key questions then for the sickle cell patients have to resolve is, should they get iron? They have anemia, but that anemia is not usually due to iron deficiency. You know, so what happens if you give them iron? That's an active area of research too that people are interested in, but I'm not sure how much research has actually gone to answer that question.
Cool.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
Very interesting. So you already talked briefly about some of the clinical trials you did, the one in Tanzania especially.
Yeah.
Do you want to take us through the design of this clinical trial? Just briefly. I know you already talked here and there about it already.
Yeah. Okay. So I've talked here. Yeah. So let me just tell you briefly about like the design of the trials that I've been involved in general. Broadly, there have been two groups of trials that I've been involved in.
Okay.
Phase 3 trials and phase 4 trials.
Okay. So
phase 3 trials.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the way that when we talk about these phases, we're usually thinking about them from the perspective of drug development.
Okay.
Okay. So if you develop a new drug in the lab, the first time that you test it in humans is phase 1.
Okay.
Right. So that phase 1 trial, you'd usually do it in healthy people.
Okay.
And usually you're trying to see if they will tolerate it. You're trying to assess like the pharmacokinetics, pharmacodynamics in healthy people. But then you go to phase 2.
Okay.
So phase 2. So basically in phase 1, you're looking at how the drug is going to react to the body, how the body is going to interact with the drug, right? So in phase 2, now this is the first time you're introducing it in patients.
Okay.
So you're using it in small amounts of patients. You're trying to find the right dose that will treat this condition. So usually drugs are not completely safe. So you want to be able to give a dose that is safe enough, but that is also effective.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of titrating that you need to do. So that's what you will usually do in phase 2 trials.
Okay.
And then you'll move to phase 3 trials where you know that this is effective and safe, or you think that this is safe and you want to know whether it's effective, something like that.
Okay.
So phase 3 trials, you need to do a phase 3 trial if you're developing a new drug before the FDA can say, okay, this drug is safe to use. And you need to do 2 phase 3 trials, right? Because they think if one is fluke, the other one should not be. Like almost like if you can get it right twice,
okay.
then it gives some more confidence, right? Anyway, so but in academia, if you're dealing with a compound like iron that is well researched, so many people have used it, you already know the right dose. You already know, you know so much about it already. But you want to test it in a new paradigm, maybe in a new setting, right? Like in pregnant women who your outcome of interest is malaria. In that case, what you're going to do is a phase 3 trial. And in the phase 3 trial, you would usually have at least 2 arms. One group that gets the drug that you're interested in administering, and the second group that gets a placebo.
Okay.
Or that gets some other comparator, maybe standard of care.
Okay.
What you would usually do for people, and then one that you're on top of what you would usually do, you're providing this treatment. And you would use some randomization mechanisms, or maybe coin toss, which nobody really does, but these days people would use a computer program to generate the code and say, okay, this person gets this drug, this person gets that drug, so you randomly assign.
Just to make it random, I see.
And and then you would then follow both groups up into the future. So most of the trials that I've been involved in fit this. So the iron trial, zinc, vitamin D, they fit this design. So like the iron supplementation, for instance, one group got iron, the other group got placebo, and we follow them up. And then at the end of pregnancy, when they delivered, we needed to have a nurse at the delivery, right? And that nurse would collect blood samples at the time of delivery, but also collect the placenta. And then we'll send the placenta to the lab, histology, some histopathology, but we also did some DNA PCR, and then look in the lab and figure out. We're interested in whether there was potential evidence of malaria in this person, So that was the design of the trial for that iron trial. But there have been other studies that I've been involved in more. So in industry now, I'm involved in phase 4 trials. And we call them phase 4 because they are the trials that you conduct after a drug has been approved by the FDA.
Wow.
Okay. So so when the FDA says, oh, this drug is okay, you can sell it to the public. But the FDA might say, oh, maybe you should also test this drug in pregnant women. Or maybe you should you might say, oh, maybe we want to test this drug in older people.
Mm.
So those kinds of trials are usually phase 4, where there's only one arm. You're not randomizing because you already know that the drug is safe and effective. So you cannot give people placebo.
Okay.
You can only give one drug. So that's phase 4, where you're then following the people up and seeing how they're doing over time. But yeah, that's the design of the trials I've been involved in.
That's interesting. Very, very interesting. And I think it's this phase 4 where when the drug is finally sold out to people, maybe the right should not be used for pregnant people or it can be something like that.
Precisely. All those contraindications. Yeah. So
Yeah,
it's from the studies. Yeah. Yeah, it's from the studies that people do, and then they figure out, maybe it's not particularly safe in this group, or it has not been properly tested in this group. Sometimes the FDA will say, so you have to do these additional studies, or every time you want to give this drug to a patient, you should do this test before you give them, or do this test after you give them, something like that.
Cool. Quite an interesting phase of research. Yeah, usually for us, we are stuck after the laboratory work we are done. But yeah, the application side, given that you're also on the field, like the pharma industry, that's really, really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
Okay. I have 2 more questions. I hope we can take it quickly. So based on your time and data-backed experience in the field, is there any medical tip or piece of advice that you think people don't know or people don't take seriously that you think people should take more seriously?
Medical. I don't see patients anymore, so
I see.
I tend to avoid.
Yeah, I get it.
No, but seriously, yeah. So no, seriously, I think that so a lot of people are sedentary, and we don't do enough of simply getting up and moving. That's something that I know there's a lot more awareness of fitness, but now it's still the young people who are getting crazy about fitness, but older people are not doing enough, right? So that's something for many more people. I think that the potential benefit of getting up every 1 hour and just walking for a few minutes is tremendous, So some of my prior research, so a little bit before, I thought that I was going to do a lot of research into physical activity. So I have a few physical activity papers from my earlier days. Before I went into IM. So I did a little bit of physical activity. I think that was exciting. It has tremendous value in preventing cancers, in preventing heart disease. Important to know that physical activity, when people talk about it, there's 2 elements that I think are critical. There's sedentariness and there's physical activity, right? So just sitting down all day and then going to the gym is good. But also getting up often during the day.
I see.
So you're not stuck in one place, right? Change your posture, get up every hour, take a brief walk, even if it's 2 minutes. And then if you still go to the gym as well, that's good as well, So those are 2 separate elements, and they don't cancel out each other. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, if I'm doing this, then I don't need that. No. So both of them have their own independent values. So that's something that I think more people need to learn about.
Okay. Nice. So if there is someone out there that wants to, before that, I think I should ask this question. So in your journey from Lagos to Harvard, you forgot one. Okay, maybe I didn't include that. So there was a part before you got to university. There was this day on Twitter that they were arguing about who is the king of Fuji music in Nigeria, and you went for KWAM-1. And I'm like,
okay,
why KWAM-1? And you said you had to, when you passed your WAEC, like one of the reasons why you had to clear your WAEC papers was because your mom told you that if you pass, you go to a KWAM-1. Can you
the KWAM-1 concert, I remember. So sometime during my teens, I become very crazy with KWAM-1.
Okay.
I remember there are some particular episodes that were very defining for me. I remember one day walking through a market in Agiki. I don't even know that particular market anymore. I don't know where it is. But I was walking with my cousin and I heard this. If I sing the song now, maybe you would know it. Shine, shine, ball, ball, characteristics of Ferrari. I heard it for the first time. You know, this was, I think it was 2000. No, this was 1990. My dad had just died in 1995. And so it was probably the subsequent year, 1996. And, you know, I heard that song for the first time and I was just completely taken by it.
Okay.
You know, like, what? Like, it's not like I hadn't heard KWAM-1 songs before, but I think that I had come to an age where I had that appreciation of his music, you know. And so that was really my first time that I would say that I kind of became a fan, you know. So that was very clear dates. One day I remember. I remember, you know, then he released History, which is an album where I think he was 40, he was celebrating his 40th birthday, and was talking about a bunch of stuff. You know, it was a really, really nice album. I really liked it. So I played a lot. My parents got tired. You know, so but yeah, so I started to become very crazy about KWAM-1. I was singing the songs endlessly. I was 14, 15, 16, you know. And so my mom was like, oh, if I did well on WIC, that she would let me come with her to, what's it called? To a KWAM-1 concert. It wasn't a concert, it was live.
Okay, live, yeah, right? Live performance.
Yeah, live performance. So basically, there was a party.
Okay.
Right? There was a party. She was invited to this party as a guest. And KWAM-1 was performing at the party. You know, I had a lot of Lagos big wigs attending. It was big, massive party. You know, KWAM-1 was not the only person performing. Can you imagine? And he was performing overnight. There was another band of people playing Apala, also performing. You know, yeah, it was a big party. Anyway, so she was like, yeah, that's so let me come along. It was fun. It was all night.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of it, you know, just sleeping away on my chair, but I still had fun. Yeah, I still had fun. I always remember I was a cheater, but yeah, I still remember it fondly. But then I think that my dad liked the Kira and the Barrister.
Okay.
He also liked KWAM-1, but and he played both of them at home.
Okay.
You know, but I feel like I self-discovered KWAM-1 myself. You know, like his music appealed to me independently, and it took getting much older before I then started to listen to Barrister.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why I feel that KWAM-1, I think it appealed to my generation, at least to me. So I have that bias.
Yeah, interesting. So if someone wants to grow up to become like you, should they attend KWAM-1 concert, or what advice do you have for them?
Absolutely. No, I think that, yeah. I mean, even I have not attended. That's the only KWAM-1 concert I remember.
I see.
So I'm not very big on social events. Very, I'm a house homebody. I think it's a name that's called an introvert. You know, I'd rather stay in one place than. So so people should enjoy themselves.
Okay. Now just go to the last question, which is so we call it the nuance window, and basically you can talk about anything really on your mind about with a broad perspective. So it can be on your research, it can be about Nigeria, it can be about Africa, charge to government, it can be about sports, and if you like music, so generally just a final comment.
How many minutes do I have? 20.
Yeah.
Okay, so since we've been talking about music, so I guess, and maybe staying on the topic of Fuji, and I think that one of the things that I'm particularly fascinated by, which is not serious, is how music kind of, the kind of music that we consume is socially influenced, right? Like the people who are around you greatly determine what you think is acceptable music, right? So I've talked about my parents liking KWAM-1 and Barrister, but no time in my house did we ever have Pasuma or Besere, Daido Shupa.
Yeah.
We knew that they existed, right? If you heard them in public, maybe sometimes you heard them on TV, but they were not acceptable to bring to the house. And they were not acceptable to listen to on your own. It was basically frowned upon. As I've grown older, I have recently, so I went through all of my life without hardly ever listening to those songs. But then as a grown man, I have gone back and listened to some of those songs, obviously. And I haven't found, I feel like, what was the issue? That's how I feel like. Why were our parents not letting us listen? That's exactly what I keep wondering. Like so maybe there's a lot of swear words, bad language in this song, but there's bad language in K1. There's bad language in KSA. There's these mainstream artists also have bad language. So but it took me a while to kind of realize that really it wasn't the songs that they were really pushing us away from. It's the people who are listening to the songs.
I see.
Right. So if you think about Obesere, Pasuma, at the time, and they have become more mainstream now. But 20 years ago, 30 years ago, if you were going to listen to those songs, there's a good chance you're going to be listening to it at the Motor Park. Right. Those are the kind of people who are really excited about it and proud to listen to it. So there was that whole sort of underclass, right, of people who were not regarded as acceptable to interact with, who were listening to the songs. And that's really the group of people that our parents were trying to keep us away from. It wasn't the songs, because in reality, the songs were not worse than everything else. They're not worse than everything else. And it took me a while to sort of figure it out. I was like, these songs are okay. I mean, not all of them. I mean, obviously some of them are, but they're not that worse than the others. So why was there all that policing? But takes me back to the point. And remember at the beginning we talked about how the people that I was friends with greatly influenced why and how I ended up at Harvard. And so I think ultimately the people that we interact with, regardless of how we might define them and why we are meeting them, why we're not meeting what people who is left out, people ultimately determine our lives to a great extent, far greater than we like to admit. We like to think of ourselves as independent agents who are able to internally motivate and go do whatever we want and become great. But there's a decent chance that if you're Bola Tinubu or Atiku's friend, right, that maybe you're a politician today, versus if you're Ibraheem Abioye's friend, maybe you're chasing a PhD somewhere. You see what I mean? So these are some of we usually like to think of ourselves as I do what I want, or do we? So anyway.
Good question. A very nice note to conclude the discussion. Thank you very much, Dr. Abioye Ibraheem.
Thank you.
Having us. It was a wonderful discussion, from motivations, from friendship to science to research to medicine, and back to music and social life. Thanks a lot for your presence. We are really honored to have you. And yes. On this note, we'd like to say thank you. We have had Dr. Abioye here with us. He's a very humble person, and as you can see, he's a very good teacher. Like, he took me through the do a clinical trial, and maybe tomorrow I can start my own. Okay. So thanks a lot, and bye for now.